former President Trump speaking out about the second assassination attempt during a town hall in Michigan.
Being president, it's a little bit dangerous. It's, they think race car driving is dangerous. No. They think bull riding, that's pretty scary, right? No. This is a dangerous business, so we have to keep it safe. And then you wonder why it gets shot at, right? You know, only consequential presidents get shot at. When I say something like that, you have countries saying, this guy, but what can you do? You have to do what you have to do, right? We have to be brave, otherwise we're not going to have a country left.
Now, despite the second attempt on Trump's life, White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre doubled down on referring to Trump as a threat.
How many more assassination attempts on Donald Trump until the president and the vice president and you pick a different word to describe Trump other than threat?
Peter, if anything from this administration, I actually completely disagree with the premise of your question, the question that you're asking. It is also incredibly dangerous in the way that you're asking it. And now for you to make that kind of comment in your question, because your question involved a comment and a statement. And, it is, that is also incredibly dangerous. But when you start bringing political rhetoric, that is not okay.
There are mentally unstable people who are attempting to kill political candidates, attempting to kill Donald Trump, and they are still hearing this White House refer to him as a threat. Is there no concern that people are taking that literally?
We're using examples. We're not just saying that just to say it. January 6th, Peter. January 6th. Wait, January 6th. How many times do we have to? January 6th, 2021. That is a fact. I know your focus has to be on this side of the house. It can't be on your side of the house. I get that. But we also have to be careful on how you're asking me these questions.
So the press is in trouble for asking questions. It's highly dangerous for Peter Doocy to ask questions.
Wow.
Putting aside the ethics here, it's fine if she wants to engage in political rhetoric. Just go do it at the campaign and don't use your White House title and don't stand behind that White House podium. This is 48 hours after the second assassination attempt on Donald Trump. And all of a sudden the rules go out the window. You're going to double down on this rhetoric? 48 hours.
Well, it's really, really, really unfortunate that she could not see that question coming. I mean, a child could have told you that after a former president was nearly killed a second time, you might want to be ready for the question of how many times does it take before you make sure that you've got the protection around him per the White House that looks like a president currently, because that's what it's going to take. You'd think she'd be ready for that. I immediately got on X and said, there's never a hatchack around when you need one.
Yeah, we've heard her say that word many times.
Because that's the lane she was dangerously weaving and bobbing and going into, and that's where she didn't want to go, but she couldn't help herself because the answer to the question was she doesn't want to stop saying he's not a threat.
Yeah.
She doesn't want to stop saying he's a threat, rather. Because that's how Democrats see it, a threat to democracy. It's their talking point. And they haven't thought it through. Well, could that be part of the problem of why he's in danger? If they have thought it through, then they're complicit. And if they haven't, they're really naive. So Peter calls her out on it. She's upset, calls him dangerous for the question. I call her dangerous for the answer. Stop calling Donald Trump a threat. I mean, people have tried to kill him more than once now.
Yeah, exactly. And it's dangerous for Peter to ask a question of the federal government. You can't do that. It's also dangerous for J.D. Vance to question the media. Let's watch this from Dana Bash.
They were trying to grow the economy in Springfield, which had been decimated in the 70s and 80s, and they didn't have workers to help do that. Now they do. Questions about integrating in schools and with language and taking driver's tests, changing the laws. Those are really legitimate questions. Eating dogs and cats, that is steeped in racist tropes. You've been talking about the fact that there have been, I think today again, there are colleges there that are closed, schools that are closed, hospitals that had bomb threats. And look, it is dangerous. I mean, there's no other way to say it.
You know, for those who didn't see, Carly, J.D. Vance brought constituent complaints to his interview. She can fact check them, you know, fine. That's what the media can do. But then he questioned Dana Bash, giving multiple choice questions to Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, contrasting it with his interview where he was constantly interrupted. And it's not dangerous for him to question the media.
Yeah, we must be a month and a half away from a presidential election because, once again, Republicans are dangerous, according to members of the media. And when it comes to Kayleigh Jean-Pierre, I think that her response was, she didn't really know how to respond to that. So she was like, I see your outrage and I'm going to raise you even more so that hopefully this whole narrative goes away. On July 14th, a day after the first assassination attempt, Joe Biden said the political rhetoric in this country has gotten very heated and it's time to cool it down. On August 12th, not even a month after, he was on CBS Sunday Morning and he called Trump a genuine danger to our American security. So if they didn't tone down their rhetoric after their own calls to do that then, they certainly aren't going to do it now.
No, they're not going to do it now. You know, and Emily, it's a decidedly different response after the second assassination attempt. It's one in which there's not an Oval Office address. There aren't these calls of bringing rhetoric down. It's almost like they're accepting this as a status quo.
That's right. The narrative has certainly normalized assassination attempts, which is absolutely frightening and totally unacceptable. And to your point, okay, so let's go back to Kayleigh Jean-Pierre. It was her president, our president, but the president she serves that said put Donald Trump in a bullseye. It's the vice president that she served that said he needs to be eliminated. It's the president she serves that said he's going to take him behind the bleachers and you fill in the blank. So the notion that the danger or the violence comes from asking questions and holding these guys' feet to the fire of, do you stand by your statement, sir? This person is absolutely under attack. Where is the toning down the rhetoric? And where is the accountability and the responsibility for your words? I'll wait, but I won't hold my breath.
You know, David Marcus put it quite simply, Tom. He said, this is about more than media bias. It's about social callousness.
Yes.
Yeah. David Marcus was writing about the fact that it is normalized now. He went into a bar and he sat down at the bar and he said to the bartender, you know, there was another assassination attempt on the president. He says, are you surprised? So the bartender wasn't surprised. They didn't change. They didn't switch away from the ball game. It's an amazing article. But it's fake. It is a fake narrative. And how do you know it's fake? Because we just heard that the president had a very nice phone call with Kamala Harris after the assassination attempt. And we heard that he had a very nice phone call with President Biden. Now, if he were really the danger that they say he is, if he's a dictator in waiting, would they have a very nice call with him? No, they wouldn't. And so this whole thing is fake. They're going to push it as far as they can. Her answer, that was a very telling answer when she said, that's a dangerous question. And she said, I will list some of the dangers. January 6th, January 6th, January 6th, January 6th. She said it 4 times.
Wow.
That was her list.
Yeah. Great point. He's a threat to democracy. He's a fascist, as Tim Walz said. But let's get on the phone with him and give him well wishes, right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't make sense.
Hey, everyone. I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kayleigh McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern. Or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.